Hey, so check this out. This is looking pretty good, huh? That's pretty sexy. I don't know how Dave controls himself around me. I also want to make a parasol at some point. I mean, I don't know what the hell I would do with a parasol. And, you know, I'm not really a parasol chick. But I just think it would be so fun. Hi everyone, it's Monique with Oak Knob Makes. I'm here with you today to do a works in progress. And I have one finished object. It's a small one, but I like it. And this is going to be a mix of crochet and sewing. The sewing will be at the end. So if you aren't interested, you can just shut it off at that point. Or if you just don't want to do the crochet, just fast forward to the sewing or watch both. So I'm going to start with my first finished object, my only finished object. It's a crochet project, and it was the little free twisted headband pattern that Cinnamon Stitches gave out at the holidays this past year, and I just really liked it. What do you think? I think it's cute. I'll put it on. My hair is probably not great for this, but I really like it. You want a little bun or whatever, you can stick it on there. It's comfortable. Hers was a little bit wider, and I just found that it was too big for my head. So I made a second one, and I just made smaller measurements. This is a really easy pattern, guys. All right, the next thing I'm going to move on to are my works in progress. And I am surrounded here, guys, completely surrounded by stuff. I've got sewing on one side and crochet on the other. I'm just going to pull this out. This was in my Expression Fiber Arts video. I'll link it if you haven't seen it. And it's still what it was then. It's just a real simple kind of double crochet chain stays over. But it's in this beautiful fingering weight, pearlescent fingering weight yarn. I decided I was going to do a temperature project this year. It just looked like so much fun that I just decided to do it. So, like, I need another thing to do. Yeah, no, not really, but it's all right. And this is what I have so far. And I decided to start December 1st of last year so that I would have a finished scarf by December 1st of this year so that it would be available for me for winter. So this is about a month and a half. It is a feather stitch, I believe it's called. I've got a 150-degree day right there. I'm enjoying that. And I think, I know why people do half double crochets or single crochets for temperature projects, because, you know, this is going to be a scarf, and obviously it's going to be a long scarf. 365, this is a month and a half. If it's going to be long, I hope it's like Doctor Who long, because that's the bomb. Oh yeah, so guys, I decided to do a crochet along, and I'm super struggling with it. And I've just about had my moment where I've decided the hell with this. The Hobie Yarn Company was hosting a crochet along, I think it's called the Wonderland Wrap. This is what it looks like so far. And this is the rest of the yarn cake. It's a twister cake from Hobby. And this whole thing is supposed to use 2 cakes and then a little bit of a solid. And I don't like it. I don't know. And it's a bummer because I gotta say, this dark, I don't think it's a black. I think it's more like a really dark navy. It's a real bitch to work with, man. Jeez. And it's all like puff stitch. And I mean, this is a lightweight yarn. Those two things together, puff stitch and a lightweight yarn, to me just doesn't work. So I'm already like adding an extra loop to the puff stitch so that it looks like significant, because I feel like it doesn't. So I'm using more yarn than I would. I just find, I think I find it tedious. And I hate to say that about anybody's, you know, somebody worked hard on this. And the thing is I think that I just don't like the stitches that they've chosen together. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know that this is going to remain a work in progress. I think life might be too short. So the next work in progress is like, literally, it's just like the top of a hat. I decided I was going to try to make Dave a little beanie. He likes his hats kind of tight, with this yarn. This is the one that I made him, is okay. I don't know. Yeah, I made a video about that. I used Ferris wheel yarn, and I really didn't like the yarn. So I was wanting to make him another hat so that he had a second alternative in case he also did not like the yarn and just didn't want to tell me. Okay, the next thing is, look at this. Look at that. I mean, come on, that's looking good. You know what this is? This is Harry and Lloyd. That's what this is. You can't be mad at those little faces. Those little sweetie boy faces. Okay, so this is also the beginning of a hat. But it is not actually a hat. It is a bonnet. It is the Middleton Bonnet by stitchofnature.com. I just think that's super cute little bonnet. And I mean super cute, like for me. The little girl's cute, but I want that. I want to be super cute. But again, I have not gotten super far on that. Okay, the next thing is going to be the Winifred shawl. This is the cake version by the Loopy Stitch. And this is what it looks like. Let me just make sure I have the front here. Does anybody else get confused by what's the front and what's the back sometimes? Okay, here we go. I don't know if you guys can see. It is a pretty intricate pattern, a lot of these things. You see here, like for example, this is a stitch in front of a row down to a row below. It's a little more complicated. The pattern says it's for an adventurous beginner to an intermediate. I would say this is an intermediate pattern, probably because I'm an adventurous beginner. And I'm finding this challenging. The other thing that I'm finding is that I think that the yarn that she used had a greater color gradient. I am using the kind of yarn that she calls for, this is the cake. So it's a very pale lavender to a very pale gray to a darker gray. And I think that what's happening, because there's not much variation in the color, is that you're missing some of the detail that these difficult combinations of stitches is giving you. And so I'm wondering if this would be more successful in something like a Red Heart Unforgettable, like yarn with that kind of coloring, so that you get more variation, or if this would be way more successful with color control. This one might actually get frogged so that I can use this yarn for something else, because I'm not loving it with this yarn, but I am loving the pattern. What we have next, my daughter has been so patient with this, although really I'm forever giving her things, so I'm sure she doesn't mind. This is her Lost Soul shawl. And this is also using twister yarn from hubby. And it starts with like kind of a grayish green, and it progresses up to a much more intense green. And it will be ending in a dark green. The wingspan on it is quite impressive at this point. It goes and it goes and it goes and such. So I think it's time to start wrapping it up. There's a point where you have to start moving away from creating the increase with the skulls so that you can stop. You know, you can just kind of build and then stop. You have to have a place to stop without cutting skulls in half. I mean, I suppose you could just cut skulls in half, but I don't know, it probably wouldn't look very good. But I think it's a lot of fun. It looks like it's really complicated, I think. I think it looks like it's complicated, but it's really not that complicated. What do you guys think of my shirt? You guys know who this is? This is Craftsman. He's great. If you have not seen his YouTube channel, you should check him out. I think he's actually been my mystery link a couple of times. He is so soothing. He's like the Bob Ross of YouTube craft channels, I think, personally. So, and my husband, Dave, was so excited because he actually commented on one of our Oak Knob Farm videos. And then Dave was so upset because YouTube, like, he didn't get the notification for like 3 weeks. So he didn't respond to him right away. So, and then he was like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad, because we both like love him. Dave got me, we each got a mug. He got each of us a mug and each of us a t-shirt for Christmas. And I think this is the last crochet work in progress that I have. I have mentioned a couple times that I have a girlfriend who I made a shawl for, the Anna Lucia shawl, actually, and that her son has just taken it over a little bit because he likes to curl up. Well, I decided to make him his own. I'm not making him an Anna Lucia shawl. I'm making him a little bit, it's a little bit plainer, but I like it a lot. His favorite color is red, so I am doing this in a red and a blue. Here is shawl that I'm making for him. So it's going to be those two colors, the red, and it's a beautiful kind of a navy blue. It's Tivoli yarn. I'm liking it. And I can't remember what pattern I'm using. I think it's on my laptop. That is what I have going for crochet works in progress. Okay, hi guys. I'm back with the other half of our works in progress, which will be the sewing things that I have. Some of these things are kind of orphan blocks that I either am working towards putting together into a project, or that I have available to me for projects. And I probably won't show you all of them because there's probably a lot, but I will show you some of them anyway, so you can get a gist of those. And then I have a couple of completed quilt tops that are ready to be sandwiched with batting and the backing and then quilted up. The problem that I'm having is that my machines don't have very deep throats, so quilting anything larger than a twin can be a challenge. However, I do have my Sears Kenmore, I think it's a 67 or 1964 or 1967 Sears Kenmore machine that is just a straight stitch with a really powerful motor, and I can drop the feed dogs, so I should be able to use it for quilting. That might work better because I think it is more boxy, and therefore I think it has a slightly deeper throat. And for those of you who are here from crochet but are interested in sewing, if you don't know what the throat is the distance from your needle and where the machine begins. So that little kind of section here that most people see on the machine, like here's the base where the fabric goes, and then here's the body of the machine. This section here is the throat. The furthest you have to get into the quilt is halfway. So you have to fit half of a queen size or a king size quilt into like 6 inches. Anybody that's never quilted before, I think it wouldn't even occur to you how heavy that is to maneuver and to be lifting, and it's pulling on you, and it's actually a really physically tiring process. People that have long arm machines are blessed. I will start with these. These are paper pieced. If there's anybody here for crochet that is not aware of what paper piecing is, that wants to know, just let me know in the comments below. So this is one of them. And this is all by one designer. It is meant to go together as a quilt. It's been a long time, guys. I want to say it's Blossom Heart Quilts, maybe. I have the pattern. I bought the pattern. It's on my computer. It's an excellent pattern, and they're great. I love them. And they come in multiple sizes. So I actually made little tiny, teeny, itty bitty versions of these blocks as well. I just couldn't tell you where they are. Yeah. So, and for those who don't know, paper piecing, I'm sorry, I'm going to get close. I'm going to get close, guys. Paper piecing is excellent because it helps with precision when it comes to quilting. And I want to hold this up so that people can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Your points in paper piecing are much more likely to be damn near perfect. And if you are at all anal retentive, this is a good thing. You see what I mean? That center point is absolutely dead on. And I love that about paper piecing. These are all to go eventually into a quilt top together. And a lot of these fabrics are, oh my gosh, don't even tell me. I can't remember her name. She's like my favorite. I can't remember my favorite fabric designer. I'll remember it and I'll put it on the screen. But some of the blocks don't have any of her. I made a lot of these with my scraps. And most of my scraps I got in scrap swaps. There's a whole bunch of these. And that is clearly a distinct project. They all are meant to go together. The next things are kind of orphan blocks. Some of them go together, some of them don't. Some of them were practice blocks. Some of them I put together as practice for quilting. So some of them have been prepped for quilting and experimenting with quilting and such. Aren't those pretty batiks? And those were all just scraps, and that was just, you know, some string piecing and then cut it up. So this is all right here. This is scrap fabric from a quilt that I made for my mom. My mother loves the ocean, and she lived in West Virginia for several years, and so she really missed the ocean. So I made her a quilt with fabric that was all ocean themed. This was like a pillow, the front of a pillow that I have marked up for quilting, and then you can kind of see what my quilting idea is there. It's drawn on. That's friction pen, which actually erases the minute you iron over it. But honestly, this stitching is going to go right on that line, so you don't see it anyways. This is a paper pieced feathered star. Isn't it pretty, guys? I love feathered stars. I have another one that I made. This is a larger version of feathered stars. This fabric is also all fabric by my favorite fabric designer, whose name completely escapes me because my brain is jello. I joined a Facebook group at one point, and they had kind of skill blocks to practice specific skills. And so this was great practice for half square triangles. This matched my niece, Charlotte. I've talked about Charlotte before. This was the fabric from her baby quilt that I made her. It was really pretty. It came out really nice. And then I just played with some of the scraps from her baby quilt to practice. And so that's kind of something that in the back of my head, when I have a lot of fabric left over from a project, I think to myself, maybe I can make a whole bunch of random different blocks and make like a wall hanging or something. So these things were all made with that in mind. You know, they don't really go together, but the fabric matches. So it gives me the possibility to put together some interesting combinations of blocks and see what I end up with. But, you know, flying geese. This is a churn dash block. Oh, here's some more strip piecing that isn't ready for quilting. It's just strip pieced. And this one I did on a foundation fabric. This was just kind of random, like take every kind of fabric, throw it in a pile and just grab. Like, it's not like I said, okay, this is the next fabric. I literally reached in the pile, pulled it out, and this was what I got. It was just kind of an interesting experiment. We have some more smaller blocks that I made with the fabric from my niece's, the leftover fabric from my niece's quilt. I should have put together a little pillow for her out of them or something, but I just didn't think of it. These are all skill blocks, you know, that you practice specific skills. It's not easy to get, you know, this is one piece of fabric right here. This is two. This is one here and one here. Well, trying to make sure that this and this are in exactly the same place with this piece of fabric between them, there's some skill in that, guys. And look, it's this little kitty head. I was just pretending and making a kitty head. I never got around to putting little eyes on it. And then just, you know, oh, sweet. Just trying some stuff. So those are just kind of my orphan blocks that are laying around for me to do whatever. A lot of those would make interesting pillow fronts, you know. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the camera so that I can hold up the quilt tops so that you can actually see what they look like. Okay guys, I'm back. We're going to see if we can make this work so that you can see these. Here is the first one. And this was a kit that I got from Blueprint, aka Craftsy, for those OG. Yeah, it's going to be hard to see. I don't know. You can kind of see. I'll stand, you know what? I'll stand on my futon. And maybe we'll get the whole thing in the shot. Well, you can kind of get an idea. And there's really no top or bottom. It just is. So this was a kit, came with the pattern, came with the fabric. I was having some trouble with my Sewing Mojo, and I just couldn't get it together. Like nothing was inspiring me, and I didn't want to play with any of the fun fabrics I had. I don't know. And really it happened after I got this room done, and I feel like I was overwhelmed. I was just overwhelmed by the possibilities because I suddenly had the space to do anything. And because of it, I couldn't make any decisions and I was frozen, so I did none of it, which is actually why I turned to crochet, because I needed an outlet and I just couldn't find my Sewing Mojo. So this does need to be sandwiched together with its backing fabric. This is the backing fabric. I think it's a really fun juxtaposition, the very, very kind of geometric nature of this pattern against a really pretty kind of paisley scroll on the back. I think it's really interesting. So that is that. And this was a mystery quilt that I did probably 5 years ago. I don't have backing for it. The green is super green, and I wish I had chosen a different green now, but the reason that I chose these colors is because the background fabric has every single one of these colors, the purple, the blue, and the green, in exactly those shades. I find the green to be too green, but it's cool. It's not like I don't like it. I do. See, and it goes, that point right there where those two meet, that's the middle point of the quilt. So it repeats again. It's a pretty good size quilt. I think it's a queen size. Okay guys, so those are my works in progress. I didn't count them. I don't really care. It's probably a horrifying number, but it is what it is. I am not concerned about my sewing works in progress. Sewing takes a long time. That's just the way it is. And that's one of the things that I like about crochet, small projects anyways, is that they're pretty quick. Same reason I like doing things like making napkins and things. Also, sewing bags can be a pretty fast, satisfying project. To fill in when you're starting to feel, you know, kind of drawn down by the time investment for a quilt. Do you guys obsess over the number of works in progress that you have, or are you just cool with going with the flow? The cats are fighting. Lloyd and Harry are beating each other up downstairs. I think someone is crying. Brothers. Share in the comments below your works in progress if you feel like you'd like to. Okay guys, I'll talk with you soon. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I look forward to the next time we're together. Bye.